The draft rankings show is back. Yes, tardy. You can blame me for being tardy the last, I don't know, 10 days, 12 days, 14 days, whatever. Lots been going on. My other two jobs with Roster Watch and Orange Bloods. Summer had to get a little traveling this last weekend. Multitude of things. Doesn't matter. You don't want to hear. What you want to hear is what you came to hear, which is the most valuable RB1s in all of fantasy football land, the cheapest RB1s in all of fantasy football heading into the 2025 NFL season. A couple of weeks ago, we did the cheapest wide receiver ones, and today we're going to be talking about the cheapest running back ones and why their values. Will they continue to be values? What RB1s might be the ones that are falling down towards this category as the season gets closer and closer. We're not going to talk about the guys that are, in round 1, 2, 3, the Kyrens, the Jonathan Taylors, the Genties, etc. of the world. We're going to be talking about the guys that are later. Guys all the way down to round 8, round 9, RB1s that you could potentially seek some value out of if you want that. I'm Cody Carpentier with the Draft Ranking Show. As y'all know, if you don't know, now you know. Click that like button, click subscribe, lock in, tap in. We're going to get this thing back on the rails as we head towards the season. Drop a comment if you got one. If you got a show idea, drop anything you want in the comments here on YouTube. Leave 5 stars on pod. All right. The cheapest RB1s in fantasy football heading into 2025. The cheapest is Dallas, which is interesting to me. I think this Dallas Cowboys situation is one that we've talked about for the last, it feels like 3 years, especially since Zeke has been gone. This offense is there's a good offensive line in Dallas. It's been going through a little bit of a change. It's now a bit younger. Cooper Beebe's in. Tyron Smith is gone. Terrence Steele's in. They've added a multitude. Tyler Guyton's there now. Like, they've added a multitude of fresh faces. They're going through a bit of a lift where, a decade ago they did this and it was the best offensive line in football. Consensus. Like, everyone's, this is the best offensive line in football. And now that they changed it, Tyler Guyton, first round pick. Tyler Smith, first round pick. Tyler Booker, first round pick. 3 Tylers, 3 firsts. Cooper Beebe's in there at center this year. And of course, they paid Terrence Steele to play right tackle. They paid him a new contract because 2 years ago now. So it's a good offensive line. I like it a lot. And this is exactly what they did, but a decade ago with the Zach Martin, with the Tyron Smith. They built this thing up to have a good run game behind it. And it doesn't feel like there's getting any value pushed into Dallas right now for having this rejuvenated offensive line. Their weaponry is obviously good with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens and Jake Ferguson. And, people may not love it, but Jalen Tolbert's a good wide receiver 3. Kevontae Turpin's a good wide receiver 3/4, right? Jonathan Mingo's probably going to be fine in that wide receiver 5 role. He's probably going to have a couple of situations where he's going to excel if Paris Campbell doesn't take it away from him. I don't know. But the running back situation is one where, like, Javonte Williams was not good in Denver last year for a multitude of reasons. Was he injured? 25 years old, couldn't create. Again, talk about good offensive lines. Denver's had a top 5 offensive line the last couple of years. Is Javonte Williams good? That's the question. Javonte, price-wise, is the cheapest number 1 running back on a roster. Cheapest. Him and Ramondre, if you think Ramondre is the number 1 New England, he's there too. I labeled for this exercise Travion Henderson. I'll bring it up, though. Javonte right now is going off the board, 102nd overall consensus across Yahoo, FFPC, Underdog, Draft Wizard, ECR, and ESPN. Javonte's 102nd. Ramondre's 103rd. So Ramondre technically could be in this conversation. However, like I said, I'm looking at Travion as our running back 1 for fantasy football purposes. But like I said, Ramondre technically could be, 32nd for you. Javonte Williams, though, 102nd overall, is the 32nd running back going, the 32nd RB1 going off the board. Do I think Javonte is the guy? Day 1. But I also think that Jaden Blue's probably going to be the one that takes it over. He's going off 128th right now. The rookie out of Texas that has all the burst and all the speed in the world and can create in space, catch passes out of the backfield. They get into shootouts. You got a guy like this in there, catching passes out of the backfield. I think that's going to be big. Can Javonte run between the tackles? Sure. Is that really what you're expecting? I mean, yeah, for 10 to 12 carries a game, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. The duo here is going to be interesting, but I think I'm going to lean towards the juice. I love Jaden Blue, but Javonte Williams is the cheapest. I still think Javonte is probably a fine value mid-ninth round going off right now, 102nd overall. Travis Etienne's going off 101st overall, one spot ahead. Travis Etienne's the second cheapest running back, one in fantasy football. Everyone hates Travis Etienne these days. Why though? Like, is it strictly because Tank Bigsby looked good last year? Like we're a year removed. We're technically 2 years removed from Travis Etienne having back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons, 11 touchdowns on the ground in 2023. Not quite 300 carries, but he had 325 touches, 58 receptions in 2023. Like it's a good season. He was 8th in AP Offensive Player of the Year voting. 8th. Travis Etienne, the running back. It was Lamar, Dak, McCaffrey, Purdy, Josh Allen, Tyreek Hill, Mahomes, Stafford, Stroud. Wait, that was the wrong year. He was right there, 8th. That's MVP. Where the hell is the player of the year? McCaffrey, Hill, Lamb, Jackson, Dak, Allen, Purdy, Etienne. He was 8th in 2023 Offensive Player of the Year voting. He was the number 2 running back in Offensive Player of the Year voting behind McCaffrey. He was the number 4 weapon behind McCaffrey, Hill, Lamb, and Etienne. That's in voting. I know that's not a big deal, but he was looked at in that ilk. We're a year removed from that. I know it's a running back position and running backs die out and stuff like this. And he didn't look great last year, dealt with a lot of injuries, but he averaged 0.1 yards less per carry. I know he averaged 5.1 as a rookie. I know he was mighty productive in the receiving game at Clemson. And he dropped down 3.8 yards per carry in 2023. He was only 3.7 in 2024. It wasn't that big of a drop-off. It was that offensive line continued to suck. Now, the problem is, I don't know how much better the offensive line is going to be in Jacksonville. They went out and got Robert Hainsey and Patrick McCarry from the Ravens. Anton Harrison's still there. They lose Cam Robinson midseason last year. Didn't really do much other than keep Walker Little in there. Ezra Cleveland's not that great. Still there. They got Walter Wyatt Millum from West Virginia could potentially work in somewhere in the interior. I don't think he can quite play tackle as a rookie, but this offensive line might still stink. But this offense should score points with Liam Cohen, Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter, Brenton Strange. Etienne should be fine. Problem is, like you said, like you didn't say, but like everyone's alluded to, Bashal Tutin from Virginia Tech, LaQuint Allen from Syracuse, and of course Tank Bigsby. Everyone's just scared of Tank Bigsby and scared of these rookie running backs. The only thing you should be scared of is the fact that, kind of like Javonte Williams, Jade Blue, Bashal Tutin's got the burst, but Bashal Tutin's also dealt with his handful of injuries. I think this looks like it could potentially be a Travis Etienne in a Rachaad White role from 2023. Right, we saw Bucky break out last year, 2024 in Tampa, but Rachaad was the guy in Tampa in 2023. Travis Etienne's sitting up to be a value right now. And I know this sounds lame because I'm just taking the cheapest 2 guys. We're talking backwards. They're both good values. They're both going off in the 9th round. I think Javonte, I shouldn't say this. Javonte he's a good value, but I prefer Blue. Travis Etienne's a good value, and I prefer Etienne in this backfield. The next round is where Tutin and Bigsby are going off in round 10. That's not value. Travis Etienne, the 9th, has a value. The 3rd cheapest RB1, I'm considering Najee Harris. Everything we've heard coming out of Los Angeles has been, this is Najee Harris's backfield. He's going off in the 8th round right now, 92nd overall. His counterpart, Omarion Hampton's going off in the 4th round, 46th overall in seasonal. This makes no sense to me. In FFPC, he's up to 34th. It's a good offensive line in Los Angeles. It's a good offense. They're going to run the hell out of the football. Worst case scenario for Najee, this is going to be a split backfield. Absolute worst case scenario, it's a 55-45 Omarion Hampton, and I don't think that's going to happen on day one. It's like people forget that, I don't know. Najee's had, 4 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons? Like, he's been able to take on this workload. The only thing that could hurt Najee is if he gets hurt. Stupid. Najee's going off 92nd overall. Half the ADP. Double the ADP of Omarion Hampton. Dumb. Tyron Tracy, the fourth cheapest, going off 88th overall. Getting a little, it's not pricey, but he should probably be the cheapest running back one in all of fantasy football is Tyron Tracy. He's going off 88th right now. Counterparts, Cam Scatterbo. Offensive line absolutely stinks in New York. Not sure what the point scoring is going to look like early on outside of Malik Neighbors being the same thing Malik Neighbors was last year. Tracy should get a big workload. Early eighth round. It's debatable what you kind of think of this thing, but he should be the one that's sitting in that ninth to 10th round turn is where I think Tyron Tracy should be going. And the fifth cheapest RB1 going off the board, 83rd overall, end of the 7th round, is Brian Robinson Jr. I've not been the biggest Brian Robinson Jr. fan my entire life. And I find myself today, Austin Eckler's going 132nd overall, just around Jaden Blue. Brian Robinson, the fifth cheapest running back one in fantasy land. He's going on 83rd right now, right by Juwan Jennings, Kyler Murray, Debo, Bo Nix, Kelsey. Love me some Kelsey. Talk about tight ends next week. Brian Robinson Jr. has gotten better and better every single year he's been in the league. The first year he came out of Alabama, everybody knows. He was a plodding donkey. Like, he was stiff. He seems to, I saw him last year at training camp. He seems to have continued to lose some weight. The weights look better on him. 3.9, 4.1, 4.3 yards per carry for what that matters. He's looked more fluid in the receiving game. He had 4 touchdowns in 2023 in the receiving game, none last year, but Eckler kind of just that was Eckler's role. I think Eckler continues to phase a little bit, and we see Brian Robinson take a step forward. He's had 3 consecutive 700-yard seasons. I think this is the year Robinson really puts it together with a team that can score hellacious amounts of points, and Jaden Daniels should be in the MVP conversation. So what's not to love about Brian Robinson at the end of the 7th round in fantasy football? The 5 cheapest running back ones in fantasy football: Javonte Williams / Jaden Blue, Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, Tyron Tracy, and Brian Robinson Jr. Drop in the comments below your favorite cheapest running back one in fantasy football. And if you like any of these 5 guys, or if you're just staying away and you're just drafting receivers and shit in these rounds, but I'm not, man. I'm drafting some B-Rob this year. I'm drafting some Najee. And I'm probably going to end up drafting some Travis Etienne. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. And I'll see you in the next one.